Joined on the phone today by Clive Anderson, the comedian. You might remember him from being as a host of the show Whose Line Is It Anyway over in the UK before it came to the US. And he's done a lot of other stuff over the years as well. Now he's on a new show called Mystic Britain on the Smithsonian Channel. Clive, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Dustin?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure.
Well, let's talk about the new show here, Mystic Britain. What are the listeners in for with the new show?
Well, it's an exploration of a variety of sites all around Britain. Some of them a few hundred years old, some of them thousands of years old. We go back 11,000 years. In each case, there's a bit of a mystery. There's a bit of a story. Why were these? With a lot of dead bodies and bones we look at. Why were these people killed, or why are they there? Why were these stones erected? What was going on? And in each case, there's either new research or there's a bit of a mystery which we attempt to solve.
Excellent. And it's on Monday nights, 8 o'clock Central Time on the Smithsonian Channel. Clive, how did you get involved with the show? Is this something you've always had an interest in? Or?
Well, I've always been interested in history, yes. I have a rather odd broadcasting career generally, because in various times in my life I've been a lawyer. I've presented comedy programs like Whose Line Is It Anyway, which is an improv show, and I've been a talk show on television. I do radio, but sometimes I do reasonably serious programs, and this is a reasonably serious program because we are dealing with historical artifacts and discoveries, and the Smithsonian Channel is very careful that we don't say anything incorrect. But I try and jolly along the experts to find out what the story is. And I have a co-presenter called Marianne Ahota, who's pretty expert on some of this ancient stuff. And between us, we try and unlock the mysteries of these, mystic times.
Excellent. Yeah, I imagine it's nice to kind of throw in some humor here and there when you're dealing with demons and mummies, kind of lighten things up a little bit.
Well, they're strange things. I mean, the mummies and the sort of preserved bodies are sort of particularly British or North European, I suppose. If you think about mummies in Egypt somewhere, they preserved bodies because it was a very dry climate, and the other chemicals and stuff that they used. In wet parts of the world, you just throw a body into a bog, and the acidic water kind of preserves it. And there's quite a few bodies have been dragged out of bogs. And the trick sometimes is to work out, well, did these people just accidentally fall into this bog, or were they put there? Did the people know that they were preserving bodies? And one or two of the bodies we've looked at there, the person who's dead has been clearly killed sort of three ways. There's a sort of ceremonial aspect to it to make sure they're dead, and to the ligature around the neck, and there's a blow to the head and a stab and everything. And that looks like they are sort of chieftains, or a king, if you like, who has a good life while things are going well. But if the food supply is drying up, or the tribe is being invaded, then they pay the price, and they're executed and thrown into the bog.
Well, again, Clive Anderson with us. We're talking about the new show, Mystic Britain. It's on Monday nights at 8 o'clock on the Smithsonian Channel. And it's interesting to think, for us here in the States, obviously only a couple hundred years history, but over there, you guys have a lot more stuff to uncover than we would here.
Well, yes, things go back a long way. And the trick, I suppose, if you want to be remembered, is to build things out of stone, because there's a lot of history all around the world, which if you haven't turned it into a stone building or something that's going to be found years later, a bit of buried treasure or something. So the oldest stuff that we do, the oldest site we went to is 11,000 years ago, which is as far back as you can go with human habitation of Britain, because the Ice Age was just coming to an end.
Sure.
It was melted, the ice was melting, and it was just warm enough to be able to be sort of hunter-gatherers who were walking around the forests and the moors and things. But they did build some shelters with posts to hold the buildings up, and you can trace those for the wood that was there, and there were bows and arrows. You can discover that they were there for hunting animals and fish and things. So that's quite spooky to go back 11,000 years, and spooky also because they had they had sort of masks made out of deer antlers, which they used for shamans, got you in touch with the spirit world. So we had a go at that. I was encouraged to visit a shamanic practitioner to see if I could get in touch with the spirit of the deer.
Wow. Well, I don't want you to give too much away, but was there a point in the show where you thought things were maybe getting a little too spooky? Maybe things are better left undiscovered?
I wouldn't say that, but the spookiest thing that happened to me personally, we were doing a program at something called the Rollright Stones. They're smaller than Stonehenge, but older. And one of the theories that somebody there was explaining was, he said, well, the stones are here because there's a force field that they would have been aware of. And he said, I'm aware of it because he does this thing of, dowsing, with those little rods that you hold and they twist in when the people use them to finding underground water sources and things. So he was demonstrating that, and he's a big expert on it. And he said, well, other people can do it. You don't have to be an expert. You might be able to do it. So I had a go at these divining rods, dowsing rods, and I can. And I found the force field that he was talking about and 7 other rings of force. And I can do it anywhere. I discover all sorts of things with these dowsing rods now. So this is not something I can't say I even believed in. I certainly didn't think I had the power to do this, but I don't know what to do with this power now. I can take little rods around and find buried treasure, perhaps.
Well, again, the new season here, Mystic Britain, is out now. Do you think there's a couple mysteries you'd like to tackle, maybe for season 2?
We're starting on season 2 next week. I'm in Scotland at the moment, and we're going to be. We weren't able to cover Scotland because of the sort of time of getting to places. So we're looking at the origins of people in Scotland, in sort of west of Scotland, Argyll, and also on just the north of Scotland. There's some islands called the Orkneys, and that's got lots of remains of various stages in history, whether Vikings coming in or before that, what are known as the Picts and the Scots who came in from, they came the route via Ireland, try and work out who built what. And I think they're even going to explore my genetic background to see which lines I can trace. Whose bloodline is it anyway? They'll probably call that bit.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And, of course, Mystic Britain is on now, Monday nights, 8 o'clock Central Time. I got to ask you real quick before I let you go, were you able to ever make amends with the Bee Gees after your talk show?
I'm afraid not. There is only Barry Gibb still alive. No, it was a bad moment in my TV interviewing career. I did make a sort of thing, I think, of making too many jokes and asking too many difficult questions when I was in my youthful years on television. And but they're the only ones who ever got up and left, which is an unusual thing to do, but it makes it my most memorable interview, unfortunately.
Well, again, Clive, thank you so much for your time today, and definitely looking forward to speaking with you again for season 2 coming up.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.
And again, that was Clive Anderson. He's one of the hosts of the new show Mystic Britain. It's on the Smithsonian Channel Monday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time. And as he mentioned, he's done a lot of other stuff in his career as well. So check out Clive Anderson online and check out Mystic Britain Monday nights.